I divorced Marcus in our 8th year of marriage. There was no infidelity, no betrayal, just the endless cycle of daily life. Sometimes I wonder, exactly, when did Marcus stop loving me? In the many years that followed, at what precise moment did the grinding pressure of our repetitive life wear down all his affection for me? That day, after only 8 years, the two of us who once believed we'd spend our lives together at the top, were crammed into a modest rental apartment. He placed the divorce papers in front of me, his gaze falling on the empty throw blanket. Grace, like this, I just can't love you anymore. Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel and tell us in the comments where you're listening from. The wheels of his suitcase were worn, making it wobble and drag loudly. He came out of the room with only that single suitcase. It was then I realized how few possessions he had, and how few I had too. He stopped and looked at me, sitting in my wheelchair. The loud dragging of the wheels ceased, and for a moment, it was quiet, save for the ticking of the clock on the wall. Don't come closer. As he hesitated, I made the decision for him. He slowly took 2 candies from his jacket pocket and placed them on the back of the sofa in front of us, next to the sketches I had just finished. I'm sorry, I didn't know what to say, but he seemed to be waiting for my response. I offered a faint smile. Don't be like this. I don't blame you. You haven't done anything wrong. The sound of the suitcase wheels rolling echoed again. It paused briefly at the door, then soon after, came the click of the door closing. The world fell silent again. I moved to the sofa and picked up the caramel candy he had left. Grace, we've gone through all the hardships. All that's left is sweetness. His words from before hadn't come true. I unwrapped the candy. Sweetness melted in my mouth as I looked at the tightly closed door. Marcus, I wish you all the best, my gaze shifted, and I saw the stack of drawing paper piled to the side. I didn't hate him. He had never wronged me. Even in leaving, he had prepared everything for me. My name is Grace. Before the accident, I was a doctor. Now, I'm a designer. Last month, I just sold 2 pieces. They were anonymous, though. I didn't want this version of myself to appear in public. Marcus went along with it. Then we won't talk about it. As long as you're happy. Back then, he would squat beside my wheelchair, holding my hand. Grace, don't be afraid. I'll be with you. And I had tried to push him away more than once. Perhaps he loved me too deeply then. He said he would be with me for life. But a lifetime is too long, and Marcus was, after all, just an ordinary man. The rescue expenses for the car accident had drained all our savings, and Marcus had also lost his job to take care of me. So, when he returned to work a year later, he had lost his competitive edge. He was exhausted every day, incredibly tired, but he never spoke about it. As for me, my temper grew erratic and irritable. I never considered his feelings. Most days, all I told him was to leave. Everything in the house that could be broken had been. Staring at our cramped rental apartment, I even contemplated leaving this world. Until one day, he told me, Grace, why don't you study design? Studying design was expensive and time-consuming. Time I had plenty of, but as for money, Marcus told me not to worry. He said it wasn't expensive, and I selfishly accepted his lie. Because a life of failure like that was simply too painful. I sold my first piece 4 years later for $200. I remember it clearly. It was my first income in 4 years. Marcus wiped away my tears and held me close, burying my head in his embrace. He said, Grace, everything will be all right. It will get better and better. But things didn't get better, and my work never progressed. I still relied on Marcus to support me. One time, he sat with me by the room's only window. It was his only break in nearly 2 months. Tree branches tapped against the window pane. The wind's picking up. Marcus opened the window, letting a little breeze in. Marcus, you should go. You deserve a better life. Marcus just sat back in his spot, saying nothing. I continued, Marcus, you've worked so hard. It wasn't to spend your life with someone paralyzed from the waist down. Your life shouldn't be spent in a modest rental apartment like this. Then, I began to choke up. Marcus finally moved, leaning against the side of my wheelchair, tears streaming from his eyes onto my hand. But what can I do? I really do love you, Grace. You shouldn't have to live like this either. But why? Outside, it suddenly started to rain, an autumn rain, very heavy that day. Marcus, I'm a selfish person, I know. After that, it must have been winter. The season we first met. The reason I'm called Grace is probably because of a homophone, jing, meaning struggle or contention. I was born into a very ordinary, financially struggling family. Grace's parents argued constantly, never missing a day. The sole reason for it all was one word, money. From a young age, I believed that all family conflicts ultimately stemmed from money. That understanding never changed, even years later. As for the meaning of Jung, it was my own interpretation of the character. A person's name should always hold some meaning, otherwise, it feels rather unfortunate. And that interpretation was probably correct, because my name often appeared first on the high school honor roll. But beyond the often, there was an occasion when another name appeared, Marcus. He transferred to our school in the winter of our sophomore year. I remember clearly, there was a heavy snowstorm that day. The boy wore the school-issued uniform. His fair face carried an air of confidence. "Hello everyone, my name is Marcus." Everyone was talking about him. Of course. The first impression always centered on appearance. "He's quite handsome, he kind of looks like that celebrity," I forgot his name. Only I noticed his chapped, red hands and his sneakers, which looked sturdy but offered little warmth, their color faded. I felt like I had found a kindred spirit. And it turned out we truly were kindred spirits, both in family background and academics. My parents got divorced, and I moved here with Mrs. Miller. It was a secret, one no one knew except me. He was good at pretending, but there are only 3 things in the world you can't fake: poverty, love, and a cough. He ripped off 2 layers of his disguise for me that day. In the deep winter of our senior year, he told me he loved me. The snow was falling heavily. I reached out and touched his red, frozen cheek. "Marcus, I want to go to Eastwood University, want to go together?" We successfully got into Eastwood University, without any hitches. But it wasn't until we got there that we truly understood what it meant to be out of our depth, to realize there were entire worlds beyond our experience. Fluent English, confident and polite conversations, and the latest model cell phones. Even though I knew I shouldn't compare myself, I couldn't help but feel envious. Once, while working at a restaurant, I ran into a dorm mate. It shouldn't have been a big deal, but I instinctively tried to hide from her. In doing so, scalding hot water spilled onto the back of my hand. I ran cold water over it, but my tears flowed more fiercely than the water from the tap. Marcus rushed over, looking disheveled, a tube of burn cream in his hand. "Close your eyes, Gracie, it won't hurt as much." I did as he said, closing my eyes. Then I heard him say, "It will end. Everything will end." We yearned for the future more than ever then, and despised our current life more than ever. Thankfully Marcus was there. The law department and medical department were far apart, but Marcus still came to find me for meals every day, and we'd go to the library together afterwards. It was like that through scorching summers and freezing winters, even on holidays. I didn't want to go home. Sometimes I would criticize myself for being so vain, even feeling ashamed of the small rural town where I grew up. Yet, I was also selfish. Such self-criticism only happened late at night. Marcus never commented on my behavior, he simply stayed by my side. There was one exception. He took me to New York City when our yearning for city life was strongest. Clutching the $2,000 we'd just received in scholarship money, we made a brief escape. He specifically booked a hotel with an excellent location and a high floor, offering a panoramic view of New York City. A sudden wave of guilt washed over me, and Marcus seemed to sense it. "A tree grows in Brooklyn," he said, naming the book. "Gracie, Francie just got the coffee she deserved." I followed his gaze to the brightly lit New York City. In that moment, I cast aside all guilt, leaving only a stubborn determination to stay there. "I'll never go back to that small rural town, never," I vowed silently. In fact, we didn't spend that long night in the hotel. Just as Francie wasted her cup of coffee, we wasted that expensive night. We wandered the wide streets of New York City, walking from south to north, watching the endless stream of cars. We bought 2 bottles of wine, it was our first time drinking. In the most prominent corner of New York City, Marcus and I clinked glasses. The bright lights illuminated our cheap knit sweaters, and we declared that we would make New York City our home. Drunk, I spent the entire night walking to Grand Central Station. We still had to go back. But the lights that day were a bit blinding, and our vows were too heavy, leaving us no retreat. That's what led to the overly stubborn people we became later. Of course, this version of us, clinging to painful hope, didn't define our entire existence. On the contrary, most of the time, I was happy with Marcus. He was a truly romantic person. He always carried a few candies, keeping them in his right jacket pocket. He said I could look forward to a different flavor each day, a small surprise in life. He didn't know that I had collected all the wrappers and tucked them into a journal where not a single word had been written. I imagined one day, I would take out that journal, place it at the very bottom of a gift box, and accuse him of which candy was sourer. That, I thought, would also be a small surprise from me to him. Marcus was romantic, I'd known that from the moment I met him. It was also one of the reasons I loved him. Perhaps because I had so much bitterness and resentment, I was especially drawn to the weary optimism in people like him. To use another term I learned, he was a pessimistic optimist. That's why the trip to New York City happened, it was his idea. I once asked him what he would do if he had enough financial support. He thought for a moment. I'd probably be a photographer, traveling all over the world. He smiled like that, then turned and asked me. Me? I'd be a painter. He kept smiling. It's okay. When all this is over, we'll finally be able to live for our own passions. That day, we also made a pact to visit Miami and touch a lucky landmark statue, which was said to bring good fortune. But that never happened. It required both money and time, and we had neither. Beyond his romantic side, Marcus had another virtue, gentleness. He never tried to change my mind, whether I was right or wrong. I particularly loved that gentleness about him back then. In college, I might have been boring compared to my peers, but I was never plain. I didn't want others to know about my past, even though it wasn't something to be ashamed of. As if to deliberately prove something, I would save money to buy cosmetics and clothes that were far too expensive for me, as if that would keep others from focusing on my past. It was wrong, I always knew that, and Marcus probably always knew too, but he never once called me out on it. He even bought me a $3,000 necklace, shaped like a four-leaf clover, saying it represented luck. I demanded he return it, and I threw a fit about it. He didn't argue with me, but he also didn't return it. After my anger subsided, he put it back on me. Gracie, everyone loves beautiful things. Even if it doesn't belong to us now, that's not a mistake. Yet he himself used a pen he'd had since high school, its exterior faded, worth only $15. That same year, after I got paid for tutoring, I bought him a $2,000 pen, packaged in a small wooden box. I wrote on it, Marcus, all the best. All the best was the best wish I could think of for Marcus. And that pen accompanied him as he signed every important document afterward. And finally, the divorce papers. After graduating from college, just as we'd hoped, we received job offers in New York City. Everything went smoothly. Marcus slowly became Mr. Taylor, and I slowly became Dr. Miller. With our settling in allowance and salaries, we finally bought a small apartment in New York City. It wasn't big, but it was enough for the two of us. Enough for us to run freely through the streets of New York City anytime we wanted. We truly put down roots in New York City. As for the process, as for how many years this slowly took, I don't know where to begin counting. I only know that we were 28 years old that year. One day later, Marcus handed me a large bouquet of roses. They were a passionate, successful red. Congratulations, Ms. Grace, on officially becoming Dr. Miller. He formally extended his hand, just as he would shake hands with any client, as if to seal a partnership with me. And I, naturally, extended my hand. Mr. Taylor. Before I could finish my sentence, Marcus pulled me towards him, his lips meeting mine in a passy Onyate kiss. Then our foreheads touched, and Marcus's deep voice trembled. Grace, we've gone through all the hardships. All that's left is sweetness. That's where that phrase came from. Afterward, he said, Gracie, let's have a child. They'll be born in New York City. I agreed. Within 2 months, we welcomed our child. Good fortune followed, and I believed things would only get better from then on. But fate, it seemed, was never on my side. On my way to work, I was hit by a car. Just like that, at 28, I gained everything, and in an instant, lost it all. When I woke up, Marcus had already arrived. A man usually so composed and adept at hiding his feelings, his collar was now askew, his hair messy, and stubble shadowed his jaw. Marcus, he couldn't look at me, but I unleashed all my anger on him. Without warning, I hurled the glass on the table at him. He didn't duck, and to this day, he still has a scar on his temple. Finally, when I had exhausted my rage, Marcus came and held me. It'll be okay. Everything will be okay. That phrase almost became his mantra for comforting me later on. The person who hit me didn't have much money, he went to prison. For my treatment, we nearly exhausted all our savings, and Marcus quit his job to care for me. He said everything would be okay, but those words never came true, not until he left. Given how things are, let's go back to our hometown. Living costs will be lower there. Everyone who saw us said the same thing. Even Grace's parents came to New York City, and we met in that cramped rental apartment. I didn't want to see them, but at that point, I couldn't even hide. It was the first year after I lost the use of my legs. I frantically covered my face, falling from my wheelchair. Seeing the exposed wounds almost made me stop breathing. Mrs. Miller rushed over and held me close. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid. It's all right now. I thought they would scold me fiercely, but they didn't. Not even my tub-born father. My mother sat beside me. Outside, the rain was drizzling. New York City is still good. Your dad and I walked all the way here. It's incredibly bustling. No wonder you tried so hard to stay here. I didn't speak, nor did I stop picking at my food. I'm sorry, we never gave you anything. It must have been so exhausting, all these years, doing it alone. Rice grains scattered on the table. Mrs. Miller held me, slowly patting my back. I felt her trembling, her silent weeping. The day after they left New York City, I found an envelope on my bedside table. There was no letter inside, just a thick stack of $20,000. Marcus's parents also came. Anyone would feel for their child, and Marcus's parents were no different. His mother called me into the bedroom. Again, I felt a mother's sorrow, equally touching. I beg you, Marcus isn't having an easy time either. He worked so hard to get to New York City. Before I could respond, Marcus opened the door and walked in. I won't leave. She's my wife. Marcus's father rushed over and slapped him across the face, right in front of me. If you stay here, then don't call me your father. He hesitated, then finally knelt before his father. Dad, this is the only time I've ever been headstrong in my life. They left too, and another $20,000 appeared on the bedroom bed. The following year, after I was fitted with prosthetics, Marcus started going out to work. A year changes many things, especially for Marcus, who hadn't even found his footing yet. So, he went from being Mr. Taylor back to just Marcus, earning $5,800 a month. Living in this city and caring for a disabled person, life was incredibly tight. Later, he simply quit his law firm job and started taking odd jobs. When I found out, I asked him why, and I spiraled again, hating myself for it. But Marcus just picked up the things I'd broken, then hugged me, tightly, so tightly. Gradually, I felt the dampness on my shoulder. Grace, if I could only choose between my dreams and you, I'd still choose you. Back then, Marcus probably couldn't have guessed the resolve with which he would leave 7 years later. It was probably in the second year when Marcus asked me, Gracie, how about we study design, what about tuition? Marcus, we don't have any money. Marcus squatted beside my wheelchair. It's okay, it won't be expensive, Gracie. You can't stay in a place like this your whole life. I quickly agreed to Marcus's suggestion. Soon after, a teacher arrived, elegant and refined. Stepping into our cramped rental apartment, and seeing me in my wheelchair, she displayed a look of disdain. Marcus, it was the first time I'd seen him so deferential. The old Marcus would probably have just thrown her out. And if it had been the old me, I would definitely have turned and walked away, even uttering some harsh words like, I'll always be at the top, or something similar. But of course, that wasn't me anymore. During that time, Marcus brought home a small cat and named it Lucky. The name had no special meaning, it was just a Sunday when he brought it home. Its companionship certainly improved my mood a lot, at least I didn't break things as much. In the 4th year, I sold my first piece. Marcus and I embraced, crying together, while Lucky, curled up on the corner of the sofa, let out 2 meows. Wind blew in from outside, lifting the white sheer curtain. The 2nd month, I sold 3. The 3rd month, I earned $7,800. Marcus took out $800, and we had a pizza night, something we hadn't done in a long time. He said, Grace, now it's your turn to support me. But good fortune, it seemed, would never truly land on me. After that, I couldn't sell a single piece, and I remained a disabled, unemployed person. Marcus's earlier joke stung me at many moments. I couldn't help but dwell on its deeper meaning, attributing imaginary blame to it. Finally, late one night, with heavy rain pouring outside, I erupted again, after Marcus came home soaked. I looked at him. Marcus, are you mocking me? Thunder began to rumble outside, yet it only made the modest rental apartment seem eerier. The drops of water from Marcus's clothes hitting the floor sounded louder than the rain itself. He didn't speak. I thought no one could have predicted such an irrational outburst. I pressed on. Marcus, it's raining. Why couldn't you come home later? Why did you have to get soaked? Is it to show how much you've endured, how much hardship you've suffered, to prove that you're supporting me? Is it? Marcus, he said he was sorry, then fell silent again. Why sorry? What did he have to be sorry for? My breathing gradually calmed. He walked over, squatted in front of me, and took out the intact medication from a plastic bag. Gracie, with all this rain today, your leg must be aching. It must hurt terribly. I'm sorry, I still came home too late. I was accusing him of coming home too early, while he was apologizing for coming home too late. I looked down at Marcus, water droplets still clinging to his hair. And he, just then, looked up. For some reason, I regained my composure. I'm sorry, Marcus. I've become a shrew. He took my hand, which I had placed near his cheek, shook his head, and kissed the back of it. I leaned forward and hugged him. His wet clothes soaked through to me, and I held him tighter and tighter. Marcus, with all this rain, you must be so cold. Grace, stuck at home every day like this, you must be so bored. I buried my face in his shoulder. Marcus, I'm so sensitive and vain. Why do you insist on loving me? You should ask my 17-year-old self that question. And you haven't changed. He nuzzled my shoulder in return. I slowly pushed him away. Marcus, let's get a divorce. He didn't move. He just said, Grace, even if this is our ending, I accept it. I'll never get divorced. Never divorced. Life could have continued like that, a string of failures, until one day, a child came into our lives. I was pregnant. The ultrasound report lay before us. The child we had once lost had returned. Marcus, should we keep him? Marcus thought for a long time, finally looking out the window. If he's born, his life won't be any easier than ours. And just like that, with one simple sentence, we reached a consensus. I let go of our second child. This was already the 6th year. After that, the atmosphere between us grew increasingly strange. Almost every day, our conversations revolved solely around meals. I was afraid Marcus and I would become like Grace's parents. Indeed, as I wished, we didn't become like that. But now, I didn't even know which atmosphere was better. Marcus spoke less and less. A year passed like this. At the end of the 7th year, Marcus brought home a box of dumplings, the frozen kind from the supermarket. I came out of the room and looked through the window at the fireworks display outside. Marcus asked if I wanted to go out and watch. He wrapped a fiery red scarf around me. Then, we watched a fireworks display in the snow, spending our last New Year's Eve together, though I didn't realize it at the time. The fireworks display was beautiful. Marcus stood beside me and said, "It's so beautiful." I murmured in agreement, and we didn't speak again. When we got back, Marcus told me to go to our room first, and he would take care of the dishes. Only this time, after the sound of running water stopped, I didn't see Marcus walk through the door. Instead, I heard the click of a lighter. The door was ajar. Through the crack, I saw that the living room light was off. The tiny flame flickered in the dark, and the fireworks display outside reflected on Marcus's face through the window. Marcus. He was smoking. For the first time, smoke filled the living room. Separated by a half-open door, neither of us spoke. In the 8th year, Marcus finally started to fall apart. I knew days like these would come. It wasn't early, in fact, I thought it was a bit late. I asked myself, if Marcus and I had swapped places, I probably would have given up on him long ago. After all, I'm a selfish person. In the 8th year, Marcus started coming home drunk. He'd lie on the sofa, reeking of alcohol, his watch tossed onto the floor after he took it off. Grace, I'm so tired. After saying that, Marcus would fall asleep. Gradually, he began to complain about daily trifles, to wonder what it would be like if he could have a child. Every word, every phrase, implied that I was a burden. Grace, if only I had never met you. Those were the harshest words he'd ever spoken. After he said them, the door slammed shut, leaving me outside. I wondered, for Marcus, was it more love he felt for me now, or more obligation? If a marriage was sustained by only one person's sense of duty, wouldn't that be truly tragic? But I wouldn't ask him. I started arguing with him, my purpose now tinged with a measure of rationality. I wanted him to leave. Slowly, we still became like Grace's parents. But I was grateful that we didn't have children. If, at that moment, a classic breakup song played in the room, perhaps our life would feel like the aftermath of a tragic romance novel. I thought this romantically. But there was no music in reality, only arguments upon arguments, and Marcus's retreating figure, slamming the door shut after a final cutting remark. Why did I ever fall in love with someone like you? Those were the last words he said. The world fell silent again, and I began to clean up the mess. A piece of glass cut my index finger, it stung. While I was looking for a bandage, Marcus returned. I knew he was hesitating. Marcus apologized, saying he had just been too emotional, too overwhelmed by stress. He gently put a bandage on me, then blew on it, just like comforting a child. Then, he started to clean up the aftermath. Finally, he held me tightly, tears falling once more. I understood his struggle, his helplessness, his resentment. I understood everything, and I understood that everything was my doing. By now, he must have come to his senses, realizing he'd wasted the most precious years of his life, lost all his potential, and rendered countless past efforts meaningless, all just to stay with a disabled person. He should hate me, but he still, inexplicably, loved me. I never doubted his love for me. So, Marcus, you must be in so much pain. Grace, let's get a divorce. By the end of the 8th year, we had reached this point. I picked up the pen he had placed there, the same one I had given him. So even the best pens fade, I thought. Or maybe, the one I bought wasn't the best to begin with. If I had known, I would have given you a new one the year you first became Mr. Taylor, I said, signing my name on the divorce papers. Everything was so natural, a natural beginning, a natural end. Only then, looking at the candy wrappers in front of me, did I suddenly recall that journal from long ago. In the end, I never managed to give Marcus that little surprise. But I still dug out the journal. It was hidden in a keepsake box under the bedroom bed, covered in dust. I casually opened a page, intending to tuck in the wrappers from the last 2 candies Marcus gave me, as a final farewell. But just as I opened it, a gust of wind swept through, carrying a large colorful confetti of wrappers out the window. I desperately tried to catch them, but only managed to grab one. I recognized that wrapper. It was, of course, from the sourest kind. It was then that I saw a sentence on the book's flyleaf, in Marcus's handwriting. Grace, everything will be okay. Signed, May 2nd, 2014, Marcus. The date was the day of my accident. The name Marcus, however, I had just written. Actually, after he left, life inexplicably started to get better. My sketches were being bought, on after another. Sometimes I wonder if Marcus's and my love was wrong from the beginning. Otherwise, how could we have ended up like this? Selfishly, I also wonder if Marcus were still here, if we hadn't divorced, would he be holding me now, saying, Gracie, look, everything really is getting better? But that's all just my imagination. The truth is, Marcus left. I don't know where he went, or if he's still in this vast city of New York City. He probably is. Marcus wouldn't be content to just leave New York City like that. A few more years passed, and I became a well-known designer in the industry. Of course, I was still Ms. Grace. No one knew my real name, except for Marcus. When Ms. Grace frequently appeared in the papers, Marcus, did you ever think about coming back for me? Whether he thought about it or not, he never came. During a follow-up hospital visit, I ran into someone else, someone familiar. His name was Ethan, a doctor 2 years my junior. He was truly young and accomplished. His family's support and his own abilities had made him a chief physician at a New York City hospital. He was a genuinely good person, probably because he had never experienced the darker side of the world, so he remained eternally innocent, kind, and bright. We had met before. He was also at Eastwood University, and we'd crossed paths a few times. Perhaps that day I was wearing jeans, and he hadn't noticed anything unusual about me. You're in New York City too, he said, sounding a bit excited. I smiled. Yes, I came right after graduation. Which hospital are you at then? I replied calmly, without a ripple of emotion. None. I didn't pursue medicine later. Oh, he sounded surprised. That's such a shame. Your photo is still hanging in the Outstanding Graduates exhibition. I lowered my head, unsure how to respond to memories of the past. But luckily, a woman in high heels interrupted our conversation. She looked very elegant and gentle. At the same time, he was holding a child's hand, who looked to be around 3 or 4 years old. Daddy. Ethan picked her up and introduced me to the gentle and elegant woman beside him, his wife. We have to go, we have other plans. But after only a few steps, Ethan turned his head again. By the way, Grace, I forgot to ask why you're at the hospital. Are you sick? Just a cold. I still wasn't willing to tell anyone anything about the car accident. Watching their retreating figures, I wondered, if the car accident hadn't happened, would Marcus's and my child be in elementary school by now? Or perhaps, the second child we had given up, would be calling me, Mommy right now. I would walk in high heels towards Marcus, and after he took the child, we would return to our home, our New York City home. Later, I met a familiar face at a coffee shop. Marcus had already been gone for 3 years by then, and we were both 40 years old. She was from Marcus's hometown. By then, we hadn't seen each other in 20 years. She had once had a crush on Marcus. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say they were childhood sweethearts. Because of that, I had even gotten angry with Marcus. But that was a long, long time ago. Meeting now, there was no awkwardness, just a sense of how quickly time had passed. Perhaps because Marcus had been gone for so long, with no word, I wanted to connect with anything related to him. Even people we both knew, I yearned to see again. So, I greeted her openly and gracefully. Emily recognized me, though she looked a little surprised, and she brought her daughter over. Say hello to your auntie. The girl was beautiful, and she looked a lot like Emily. Long time no see, Emily said to me. She had put on a little weight, but her 2 dimples were still there, and she looked very happy. During our conversation, she asked me how old my child was. I don't have children. She paused, then continued, no children? That's such a shame. Did Mr. Taylor agree to that? I nodded. We're divorced. Emily's gaze immediately turned disdainful. I remember you two had such a good relationship. I stirred my coffee. Yes, it was always good, just because he went to prison? The spoon slipped from my hand, splashing some coffee onto the table. Bitter, dark drops stained the pristine white surface. I frantically called Marcus, desperate to confirm this wasn't true. Even if we never saw each other again, even if he married another woman, Marcus, all I wanted was for Marcus to be okay. The number you have dialed is currently switched off. But the only reply was always a cold, automated voice. Later, I learned that 4 years ago, the day after our divorce, he had stabbed someone. After that, I finally found Marcus's prison. His hair was already cut short, with a few strands of gray mixed in, making him look a bit aged. The moment he walked out in his prison uniform, I couldn't hold back my tears. Marcus didn't seem to expect me, but after the initial shock, his eyes also welled up with tears. Marcus, I'm not worth it. He glanced at my scarf, then smiled. Grace, you look like you're doing well, but you're not doing well at all. I finally learned the whole truth of the situation. The person Marcus had stabbed had stolen my designs and published them overseas, living a life of luxury. Of course, that person is now in prison. Grace, stay in New York City. Afterward, that phrase, to me, carried a sense of things having changed beyond recognition. Then, when Marcus was 42, he was released from prison. That day, New York City had another heavy snowfall, just like when we first met. Marcus was still wearing white sneakers and had a haircut similar to his high school days. All of this was an end, and also a beginning. I purposely wore red, standing in the pristine snow, so he could spot me immediately. Marcus slowly walked over. Are you cold? It was as if this was just an ordinary goodbye. Cuz, let's remarry. I picked out a new ring. This time, I proposed to Marcus. Marcus, marry me. Saying that, I stood on tiptoe and put one end of the earbuds into Marcus's ear. Even a heaven-sent bond will have its struggles. Why bother caring too much about right and wrong? Marcus hugged me, whispering in my ear, his voice hoarse and bitter. Okay, okay. Marcus, let's remarry. Okay. If you ask what happened after that. Marcus, what is it? He was currently holding a camera, filming the first gardenia to bloom in the house that spring. Outside, the sun shone brightly, and beyond the French windows was the bustling traffic of New York City. Nothing, I'm hungry, I'll go cook. And this is our story, years later. Thank you for watching today's story. If you liked this video, please like and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section. Feel free to share your views, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.